Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Namaste, everyone. So nice to have everyone back together again. Tonight we're going to begin this discussion of the Shiva Puja and the advanced Yajna. And so, without further ado, let's turn to the introduction on page 1. There is only one God. Just as one woman is known as a mother, a daughter, a wife, a sister, or a friend, depending on the different relationships she has, in the same way, the one God is called by different names by different people in different circumstances. People call him variously creator, protector, or destroyer, giver of wisdom, giver of wealth, remover of darkness, according to the various circumstances which life presents. People even call him her, and worship the Divine Mother Goddess as the supreme divinity. In this world of duality, people are required to enumerate specific qualities and attitudes in order to communicate. Shiva is God's qualities of infinite goodness and continual transformation. Conceive in your mind the ultimate goodness, and when you have your picture of perfect goodness, infinite goodness, then make it better. That is the beginning of the understanding of Shiva. In this puja, we place Shiva in our hearts, place ourselves in the presence of Shiva, and then strive to come closer and closer to this highest goodness, the highest divine spirit. When we get to where we can't get any closer, that is where the puja begins. Shiva is beyond limitations. He takes us beyond the mind. His name has an excellent meaning in Sanskrit. Shakara Shanti Prakash Ipodo Karana Deho Bhagiti Chirastai Milan Shivarta Chitta Mangalam. The letter Sha is the illumination of peace. The syllable E is the causal body. Wa means union with the infinite. And the definition of Shiva is the welfare of all objects of perception. He's got it all. All objects, everything that you can perceive in any way, or you can think in any way, and beyond, is part of the embodiment of Shiva. Shiva is also the destroyer. Every moment of time has a beginning, an existence, and a transformation into something else. In reality, matter is never destroyed. It only changes form. So what is called destruction is really the process of transformation from what was known into something new. Shiva is always transforming all that was into what it is becoming. He allows for the fluid motion and the continual change in the ocean of existence. All fear is of the unknown. The transitory nature of existence makes us feel insecure. We want things to stay the way they are because we don't know what the change will bring. And that is why Shiva, as the destroyer, is so frightening. What will it be like when he's done? Will he ever be done? Maybe he'll just go on changing things ad infinitum. Until we accept the will of Shiva, there will be fear. As long as we identify with the changes that are occurring, we have attachment. By saying to God, I like the universe the way it is, please don't change it, We resist the course of nature. We create our own pain by our attachment to the way we think things should be. Shiva, as the great destroyer, will destroy our attachment too. That is his function as the consciousness of continual transformation. By worshiping Shiva, we cultivate the qualities of infinite consciousness, unattachment, freedom from bondage to this world of objects and their relationships. We cultivate the attitude of perceiving the intrinsic reality, not the extrinsic appearance. We identify with that which does not change. We become the witness to the changes of nature. From this perception, we act and interact with the world. Remembering the eternal reality, we free ourselves from pain and fear. We see them as passing states of mind and accept the will of God. Shiva is also the Lord of Sankalpa, the strength of willpower to define and achieve our goals. Nothing deflects Shiva from his path. Shiva gives us the strength to attach ourselves to the sustaining values of life, to the values that will stay with us through eternity, which according to this tradition are called the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal ideals of perfection. Pu means punya, the highest merit. Ja means jata, to give birth. Puja means the actions which give birth to the highest merit. In our tradition, the highest merit is being given the privilege to sit in the presence of God. By performing puja, we rehearse what would it be like for God to come to our home. We shine our utensils, we decorate the altar with flowers and lights, incense and candles. We prepare good food because an honored guest is coming. A puja is also a compendium of knowledge of spiritual practices. In many ways, the systems of worship resemble a table of contents of subjects that will be of interest and benefit in the spiritual evolution of an aspirant. There are many mantras that offer a flower and obeisance to a deity or a group of deities. Why are we bowing to these divine powers of the universe will be explained in other scriptures. This is just a table of contents. It's a reference book. It's pointing you. Om Ganganapataye Namaha. Why are you bowing to Ganesh? Why is he the first to be bowed to? What does he mean? What is his function? How does he help us? The puja merely points the way to a whole other branch of learning. And that is why there is no end to puja. There is no end to learning. These are resources, reference books. They're an index of all the topics that you could study if you really want to be perfect in the eternal ideals of perfection. Yajna comes from the root yuj, to unite. Inside the Ajna Chakra, the light of meditation is burning. Outside on the ceremonial fire altar is the fire, the objective measurement of how brightly our inner light is glowing. The yajna is the union between these two fires. This union is the sacrifice of all egotism and duality. The yajna fire will not burn with wood and ghee alone. The yajna fire requires devotion to the exclusion of selfishness. The purpose of the yajna is to unite the two fires so that all the thoughts become oblations to the fire, offerings of sacrifice. When we unite the fires with such devotion that there is no other thought, then we have participated in a yajna. This advanced puja contains a great deal of information, honestly. It is possible that an advanced student could remain engaged in its study for several years. You are not required to learn this whole puja immediately. You can take bits and pieces of this puja and put them to work. This book includes a beginner's puja, an intermediate puja, an advanced puja, and a postdoc section. So there is more than ample material to keep you engrossed in the worship of God. Read through the pujas and read the translations. Some mantras will call to you, something will touch your heart and illuminate an inspiration, and that is where you could begin. Look for those mantras that say, I belong to you. I am the echo of the vibration that is in your soul. As you practice those particular sections, other parts will call to you as well. If you don't pronounce the mantras correctly, don't worry. Put yourself in the attitude of surrender to the will of God and try to come as close as possible. Cultivate the attitude of appreciation for the bounteous gifts of God, especially for the privilege of being able to sit in the presence of God. Cultivate the attitude of gratitude and carry it with you throughout your daily activities. Only then will worship pervade our lives. Worship does not mean the memorization of mantras, or even the proper placement of the flowers or other objects. Worship is an attitude of respect, of dedication, of devotion to the exclusion of selfishness, and I bow to my teacher, Sriman, who is the greatest example that one could pray for, and I offer this work to all devotees as an expression of my appreciation for the understanding which has been entrusted to me. As Swami Satyananda Saraswati Devi Mandir, 1998. Namaste. Let's begin with the study of the Sadhana Panchakam, a wonderful place, one of the great works of Shankaracharya. He had a lot of great works, but this is one of the great ones. And we'll sing the Sanskrit and go back and study the meaning and the application. Please, everybody, try and sing along with us. We'll sing it slowly so we can all learn a new meter. Bedo nityam adiyatam taduditam kamasvanushtiyatam tene shasyabadiyatam apachiti kamye matistyajatam papoga puribuyatam babasuke doshana sandiyatam anecha vyapasiyatam Nijigrahatanam Nigamyatam Sangha Satsubhidiyatam Bhagavato Bhaktidiradiyatam Santyadi Porichiyatam Dirataram Kamashu Sanyachatam Sadvidwan Nupasarchatam Pratidinam Tatpaduka Sevyatam Pramekaksharamardyatam Sriti Srovakyam Samakarnyatam Prakyartascha Vicharyatam Sruti Sirasvachat Sapasriyatam Tutarkat Subiramyatam Sruti Mastarko Nustandiyatam Pramevasmi Vibhavyatam Ahara Hargava Prityajatam Teheham Matirajyatam Vedajanir Bada Smarityajatam Shuddhyadis Chachikitsyatam Pratidinam bhukshoshatam bhujatam Sadvanam natuyachyatam Vidivashat pratena satusyatam Sitoshna divishahyatam Hatuvritavakyam mucharyam tam Odasinyam abhipsyatam Janakripa nishturyam bhutsrijyatam Ekante sukhamapsyatam Parantare chitta samadhiyatam Puratma susamikshatam Jagadidam tapaditam drishyatam Prakarma prabilapyatam Chitibalalapyute shlishyatam Prarabdam tiha pujatam Adha parabrahmatmandastiyatam Yashlokat panchakamidam Patate manushyaha Sanchitayata Stiramubhedyam Tasyasu Sansritavala Nada Divagora Tapaha Prashanti Mupayati Chiti Prasadat Iti Srimad Shankaracharya Virachatang Sadhana Panchakam Sampurnam. Let's return and translate a little bit. On page 5, the Sadhana Panchakam, and this means the 5 Panchakam, the 5 verses in the praise and definition and exaltation, adoration of sadhana. Always study words of wisdom. With all your capacity, act in accordance and perform the discipline of these words, and following the systems of worship they enumerate, make the worship of the Supreme Lord, and don't allow your consciousness to contemplate adverse desires. Hear that? Don't allow your consciousness to contemplate adverse desires. That means you need a little discrimination. Which desires are adverse and which desires are going to really take me to the fulfillment of my ultimate objective. Wipe all the dross of sin from your mind. Search for the faults and the pleasures of the world. You know how many pleasures are out there calling me. Hey, Swami, come and join and enjoy with us. And I have to search for the faults of it. Hey, is there anything wrong with my doing that action? Is it going to get me into trouble? And then I'm not going to be able to do sadhana because I'm still working on the problems that I just created for myself. Search your own soul for true knowledge. That will be your guiding light. The discrimination that you need will come from within. You have a conscience. You can determine right from wrong. You know innately, intuitively. You know a priori. Without having to consult your reason. This is not good and that is. And very quickly try to renounce the attachments to your home. What is the place we call home? The place we fill with all our stuff. All our memories, all our attachments. Very, very quickly try to renounce the attachments to the place where you keep all your attachments, where the place that you call home because you're so comfortable surrounded by all your attachments. Maintain the association of true people. Take refuge with devotion in the supreme divinity, and with all your capacity try to befriend the universe, and very quickly renounce the fruits of your labors. Don't be attached. Work for God, work for love, take what you get, and be satisfied. Whenever possible, seek out the company of the true and knowledgeable people and serve the sandals of their lotus feet and ask from them even one letter of the knowledge of Brahman. You don't have to tell me a whole sentence even. Just give me one letter. If I know that the knowledge of God, the supreme divinity, is included in that sentence, in that one letter will awaken within me that desire to come closer to God. Ask for them even one letter of the knowledge of Brahman, and listen to the great words of wisdom from the Vedas, like we are right now, filled with inspiration, directing us away from our little selves and our little attachments, bringing us closer to the love of that supreme divinity. Always contemplate the great words of wisdom. Take refuge in the great words of wisdom and stay far away from the bondages of the soul. Search for the real inner meanings of the texts of wisdom. It's not enough just to listen to it. Oh, Guy, that sounded so nice. Swami was inspiring tonight. Okay, now let's turn on the TV and watch the boob tube and see what else is happening in the world. No. Shravanam. Mananam nidit asanam. Hear it, deeply contemplate it, and then meditate to the exclusion of delusion. I am one with God. Always maintain this attitude. No matter what you're doing, I'm doing it for God. I am the servant of God. I am one with God. God is with me. I get to sit with him too. Always maintain this attitude. Make renunciation of the many thoughts of the mind. You don't need all that baggage. Leave the egotism of your body and don't debate idle philosophies with intellectuals. What a waste of time. Don't debate idle philosophies with intellectuals. Try to fill yourself full of inspiration, full of devotion. Take the true knowledge and go with it. Don't debate the idle philosophy. Is this the right path? Is that the right path? Where I am is the right path. I am on the path. Don't debate idle philosophies with intellectuals. It's not about where your mind goes. It's about what's in your heart. It's not just an intellectual realization. Take the cure for the illness of uncontrolled desire. Serve your doctor, that's the guru, as a beggar would serve a lord. Please, give me the medicine that will cure me from the illness of uncontrolled desire. Don't seek the associations of pleasure seekers or self-centered individuals. Remain contented with whatever you receive in a divine union. That which God has consented to give, remain the same while undergoing all the pairs of opposites like hot and cold, pleasure and pain, and don't give expression to worthless speech. Just don't even let it come out of your mouths. If it's worthless, keep it where it's supposed to be. In your recycle bin. Carry yourselves as a great renunciate. Don't look to get grace from other men. Don't seek to obtain something from men. It's not about my relationships with men. It's about my relationship with God. Sit down in a quiet, conducive and comfortable environment and contemplate the supreme divinity. Look into yourself with the fullness of consciousness. See the bondage of the gross world to the soul and reduce lose your necessity for action in the world. Don't allow your thoughts to be bound by karma. With the strength of wisdom, free your mind from bondage. Experience the fruits of your prarabdha karma, the actions performed in the past, the fruits of which are being experienced in the present. And after the past karma is complete, with an attitude of one mind, one focus, one attentiveness, totally Shiva Sankalpa. I've got my Sankalpa, I've got my definition, I've got my Laksha, I've got my goal, and I've got my path. With the attitude of one mind, go to the realms of union with the highest divinity and remain there. Whoever will read these 5 verses and with a still consciousness every day contemplate the essence of these verses. That means without a wandering mind, with a still consciousness. Actually, you're going to focus on the meaning of these verses and sing them with understanding and practice. For him or her, the great flames of bondage to objects and relationships, that's a whole sansara, and disruption to the soul's peace will be quickly eradicated. And thus ends the 5 verses in praise of spiritual discipline written by Shankaracharya in 700 AD. And I bow to Shankaracharya and to his forethought, his insight, his understanding of the human predicament in the 21st century. He saw it back then. And he gave expression with such magnitude, such vision, such clarity. There is no duplicity whatsoever in his statement. Not one dubious comment. Everything was right on. Namaste. Let's see, after a long time we're congregating tonight. Let's see if there are any questions. Yes, please, Mr. Srini.
Swamiji, on page 2, Shiva is described as the destroyer or transformer.
Yes.
And in other scriptures, he is described as the witness to the play of nature, a corpse on whom mother dances.
Yes.
How do you reconcile his role as a witness and his role as a transformer who's acting?
Oh, he's both. Shiva and Shiva are contained in Shiva. And Shiva is the feminine form, which is activity, which is Shakti. And Shiva is the masculine form, which is consciousness, the witness. Sometimes we call the coin by heads, and sometimes we call it by tails. It's the same coin. Sometimes we call the Divine Mother as Kali, who takes away the darkness. Sometimes we call her as Gauri, who illuminates the light. I think they both work together. I have never found a way to give up the darkness without illuminating the light. You remember the story of darkness going to the sun and said, Lord, I know there's perfection all throughout your creation. I know there's a reason for everything. And please tell me, Lord, why is the sun always chasing me around the earth? This has been going on since the beginning of creation, and I'm tired. I'd like to sit down and just take a deep breath and rest for a moment. Every time I try to sit down, the sun comes right behind me and chases me away. The Lord said, let me ask the sun about this. He called the sun, Son. Darkness departed. The sun came, he said, Son, I have created harmony and peace and cohabitation, peaceful cohabitation amongst all the constituent elements of creation. Why is it that you're always chasing darkness around the earth? You've been doing this, I'm told, since the dawn of creation, and every time he wants to sit down, you come and he sits down for even a moment, and you come right behind and chase him away. What is the meaning of this behavior? And the son said, Lord, you please excuse me. I have never seen darkness. You please bring darkness and show him to me, and I promise I won't chase him away. In this way, darkness and light, positive and negative, the actor and the witness, the consciousness and the nature, Shiva and Shiva, are all one in unity. The constituent elements of the creation, when we have manifestation, they have to be united. So he is both the witness of the action and he is the causation of the action. He causes the action and he watches in both ways.
Swamiji, a question from Nanda from San Jose.
Namaste, Nandama.
Pranam Swamiji, it's great to be back in class. Please, can you tell us how to develop proper discrimination?
No. But I can tell you the exercises that you can perform through which you can discriminate. We need criteria in order to discriminate. There has to be some criteria by which we can say, we can adjudicate what is right, what is wrong. And that means you have to have a goal. You can't say where the path goes until you know what the destination is intended to be. How can you discriminate without knowing what the goal is? In this Sadhana Panchakam, we have a very clear definition of the goal is to go to the realms of union with the highest divinity and remain there. Reduce your necessity to act in the world. Sit down in a quiet, comfortable, and conducive environment and contemplate the supreme reality. He's giving us very, very clear criteria by which we can discriminate. Now, if I go to the party and I'm listening to the music and talking on the telephone and watching the TV and trying to remember my mantra, perhaps I may forget. I'm not living in accordance with the criteria which we have defined as our goal. And once we know the goal, we know the path. And once we know the path, we have the criteria by which we can discriminate. And Nandama, it's just a question of how badly do you want it? Do you really want to get to that destination? If the answer is yes, the rest pales in significance. It knocks on the door and there's nobody home. And if I wanted a little bit and I think, oh, well, I'll do sadhana when I'm older. You know, I'm in the grahastha stage of life. First there's a brahmacharya, my duty is to learn. And then I'm a grahastha, my duty is to enjoy. And I'm going to enjoy life. And then when I'm old and I'm feeble and I'm incapable of enjoying anymore, well, then maybe I'll think about doing sadhana. That means every time that the love of God comes to the top of your list, you will say, oh, well, let's put that back on the bottom. So it's just a question of our sincerity and really wanting it. We have clear guidelines in this Sadhana Panchakam. There are very, very clear guidelines of what we should be doing and where we should be focusing and with what attitude, with what bhavana we wish to proceed. Here are clear criteria by which to discriminate. And that's how we can cultivate that kind of discrimination.
Swamiji, question from Ambika from New Jersey.
Namaste, Ambika. Namaste, Shan.
Swamiji, on page 2 it says that Shiva is the Lord of Sankalpa, the strength of willpower, and that nothing deflects Shiva from his path.
Yes.
Does this mean that once we make a Sankalpa, it cannot be changed? I have been doing a Chandi Sankalpa and I think I found a better way to accomplish the same goal. How do I know if I really did find a better way or I'm just weakening? Thank you.
No, Ambika, when we make a sankalpa, we want to be as true to that sankalpa as we may possibly be. And to the extent of our capacity, there are certain times where circumstances just don't allow us to complete the every letter that we promised to do. But actually, those are very rare circumstances. Don't waver in your sankalpa. Don't leave the sankalpa that you've created for yourself and then say, oh, well, I'm going to leave it because I may have found a better sankalpa. I may have found a better way or a better place or another system through which I can dedicate myself. That's what we call digging many shallow wells. And that's the proverb of the one farmer who dug the many shallow wells. He didn't find his water, so he went and dug another one. And his neighboring farmer just kept digging. If you can dig it. He did, and he found his goal. So don't waver. Add to your sankalpa. But don't give up this in exchange for that.
Swamiji, a question from Nanda. Pranam Swamiji, regarding don't seek any grace or expectations from other humans. Don't we live in an interdependent society where we set expectations, where expectations are set all the time? Please tell us how we should interpret this line.
Yes, Nanda, we do live in the interdependent society and we do have expectations, but make them reasonable expectations. Don't look to get grace, meaning you're going to get something to which you're not otherwise entitled. Don't pray to somebody to please change my karma for me, because you're not entitled to that. You are entitled to enjoy the fruits of your karma, whether you like it or not. So you're going to enjoy the fruits of your karma. Don't go to another guru or go to another sadhu or go to anybody else and say, please, I don't want the fruits of my karma. I'd like somebody else's karma's fruit. So in this way, don't seek to get grace. Don't seek to get something to which you're not entitled. Kri means do. Pa means get. The grace is what you do, is what you get. You're entitled to that. And that's grace. Now, that's how I would interpret those verses as applicable to today's society. We are living in an interdependent society. And when I say that I will give you X if you give me in return, I'm entitled. That's not looking for grace. But if I say I'd like something to which I'm not entitled, that's inappropriate. And don't waste your time.
Swamiji, question from Vidya from Malaysia.
Namaste, Vidya Ma. So nice to hear from you.
How can we eliminate useless chatter when we live in the material world and need to mingle around with society? Do we isolate ourselves and remain selective with people we socialize with? How do we draw the line while maintaining love for everybody? Thank you.
Vidya, you are certainly filled with Vidya. And you are the emblem, the example of that knowledge, that pure knowledge. And wherever you go and people start to talk about nonsensical chatter, bring them back. Bring the conversation back to where you want it to be. Make it meaningful. And you have so many tools in your tool chest, in your arsenal. You've studied scripture, you've traveled the world, you've been to holy places. You could just say, gee, you know, that reminds me of a circumstance that I read about in the Shiva Puja book. And you know what Shankaracharya had to say about that? And guide the conversation back to the world of reality and end the nonsensical chatter. You can do it. You are empowered to do it. You have so many experiences. I saw that day in Benares as I was looking at the temple, and I saw how that applies to your circumstance completely. Vidya, you are the embodiment of knowledge. You have that possibility. Now, when you have some work to do with a fellow worker, you talk about the work. And when the work is complete, you thank them and give them inspiration and appreciation. The attitude of gratitude. And then bring the conversation back to the real world. To Shiva's world. And get the conversation out of the world of chatter. Not a benefit to anyone.
Swamiji, it says that the focus should be on intrinsic reality as opposed to what is happening extrinsically. How do we keep that focus? Or what does that mean practically?
Practically, it means that everything we are doing outside is only valuable insofar as it enhances what's going on inside. I have a relationship here. And this outside is important to me insofar as it enhances this relationship. I want to be with Shiva. I want to live with him. I want to eat with him. I want to think about him in everything I'm doing. Why am I doing this outside work? I'm doing it because it supports my relationship with Shiva. That's why it has meaning to me. And in the context of that meaning, focus on the intrinsic rather than the extrinsic. The vehicle is very important, and I want to keep it well maintained, but it's important to me only because it allows me to arrive at my destination. It's not important to have a garage full of cars. It's important to have one good car that's going to take me where I want to go when I need to get there. So that's what it means. Focus on the intrinsic. Yes, please.
Swamiji, on verse 4,
yes,
at the bottom of page 7, Sri Shankaracharya says, remain the same while undergoing all the pairs of opposites like hot and cold, pleasure and pain, and don't give expression to worthless speech. Now, when we experience a heat or cold, immediately there's a reaction in our mind.
Yes.
Similarly, with pleasure and pain, there's going to be a reaction. So where is the question of there being indifference when there is a reaction? Every time we have pain, we can never be indifferent to it. There's going to be a reaction.
Well, now, how do we diminish the reaction? Do you want to shout from the top of the temple that I am reacting? Everybody, please observe my reaction. Or do we want to observe that there was a reaction, there was a stimulus, there was a response, and now I am the same. I am not my body. I am not affected. My body is experiencing heat and cold. I'm not. I am not the body. It may be cold here. It may be warm. And in either circumstance, I'm going to think about the Sadhana Panchakam. I mean, that's my sankalpa for tonight. To think about the Sadhana Panchakam. The 5 verses which tell me about spiritual discipline, about living with God. Now, if it's cold here, I'm going to read the Sadhana Panchakam. If it's hot here, I'm going to read the Sadhana Panchakam. If it's a beautiful temperature, neither cold nor hot, I'm going to read the Sadhana Panchakam. How did I react? I reacted by acknowledging that it's cold or hot or beautiful temperature. Now, get back to work. Break's over. What else shall we talk about? Do I have to go up and tell everybody, oh, it's so cold here? No, I invited you not to listen to my weather report. You didn't tune into this station to hear the weather report. You tuned in to hear the Sadhana Panchakam. 5 verses about spiritual discipline, about the goal, about the path, about the criteria by which we can discriminate. What difference does it make what the temperature is? Yes, please.
Well, to go on that, and not necessarily reacting out loud, but letting my mind keep thinking. You know, I'm here, I'm reading the Panchakam, but man, I'm cold. I'm reading another line, oh man, I'm really cold. How do we get past that? Is it just keep going, keep reading? I
have a sankalpa. You saw me do the 5 fire sadhana. You saw me sit on a glacier. Yes, it was cold on the glacier. Yes, it was hot in the middle of the 5 fires. Okay, now what? Sing the chutney. You can't say, Om Namo Shivaya, it's cold. Om Namo Shivaya, it's cold. Om Namo Shivaya, it's cold. That wasn't the mantra. You said it was cold. Okay, now sit down and sing the mantra. And every time your mind says, it's cold, you say, wait, I'm saying the mantra. I already said that. How many times? I'm not going to make japa of the fact of the weather report. My job is the bowing to Shiva. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this exercise. Every time the mind wants to stray, grab it by the scruff of the neck and bring him back. Make him sit down. Hey, mind, I'm not taking the trip with you. You are going to fly off to wherever you want to. If I go with you, I'm never going to get home. I won't fulfill my sankalpa.
Swamiji, Nanda is asking, is Sadhana Panchakam something to read as a daily reminder in addition to other sadhana? Your suggestions welcome. Thank you.
Oh, I would certainly memorize it. I would have it written on the inside of your spectacles. I would have it, they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes and bound upon thy hand and before. Yes, you could read it every day whether you need it or not. It's wonderful and it's a beautiful inspiration and a clear definition of our goals and our processes. So yes, Nandama, as much as you can do, add as much as you can do to as much as you can do. And if you only have an hour to sit today, then maybe you can't do the Sadhana Panchakam. But if you have 2 hours you could sit, you could definitely weave it into the sadhana. Because what an opportunity to remind ourselves why. Why are we here? What are we trying to accomplish? What is our goal and what is our path? And by which criteria can we discriminate? Will this take me there or will it not? Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste.
Jai Shiva.